All right, guys, welcome back. My voice is still kind of not really here. I'm a little sick, but let me start off and say like, comment, and subscribe because you are going to want to see the next few videos. The Datsun is getting a little bit of a surprise. Uh, this is just a piece of it, but we have a turbo kit for the Datsun, and I went ahead and I did the big part already because it's pretty straightforward. Take off the intake manifold and bolt on the exhaust manifold, turbo manifold, if you will, and the turbo. So I'm going to show you that real quick. We are waiting on a lot of little bits, which will be coming the next week, the next few days. It'll be in this video, probably. More than likely. As long as I get everything this week, it'll be in this video. And we are going to get the Datsun turboed before the car show. Everything that's been done so far is the oil feed line, the turbo and exhaust manifold has been bolted on, and then I have relocated the ignition system, if you will, from just below here to just to the left, and that is for the mass airflow. My mass airflow is going to have to sit right here to connect to the turbo itself, and I'll route a 180 right here connecting to the throttle body, which will allow me to feed the pressurized air into the intake manifold, thus going into the engine. Parts that I am waiting on are a V-band adapter. That is a 2.5 inch. The downpipe is a 3 inch, so I need an adapter for that. I need a wastegate and a wastegate spring. I have an 8 psi spring on the way, along with a wastegate that's modeled after the Tile MVS, and that'll V-band right down there, and that's a 44 millimeter flange. This will all pretty much stay the same. The throttle body will connect here, and I am waiting on the hoses, the silicone couplers. That way I can connect everything up. And after that, the rising rate fuel pressure regulator is also on its way. It'll take the place of this stock one, and it is a return style, so it should fit pretty nicely right where that's at. It'll have the two barbed ends along with the return on the back. And then after those parts, I am waiting on a a return line for the oil on the turbo. So I will show you how I have the feed line real quick. It came with the turbo kit, so it's pretty easy to install, and it's not awful. I wish the hose was a bit longer so I could route it around the back of the engine and not over the top of the valve cover, but it is what it is. So oil feed is going to come from your oil pressure sensor on a stock 280Z, 260Z, 240Z, and probably the ZXs are in the same spot as well. Just right next to the oil filter, you'll put this kind of T in the place of that, and then screw the actual oil pressure sending unit into that, and I have it just routed over the top of the valve cover because it was like 3 inches too short to go behind the motor. So this is the setup we've got. Speaking of which, I should probably plug that back in before I forget about it. And one last thing real quick, I'll flip you guys around and show you, but on the 280ZX, 260Z, 280Z, and 240Z, all of the non-turbo models, they have a different style distributor. What you're going to have to do is, if you are turboing on a stock distributor and NA distributor, you're going to have to block off this little nipple. This nipple, and I will try to do my best and show you. Hopefully you can see that. Is for your vacuum advance, and what that does is it goes off intake pressure or lack of pressure, since it's all under vacuum and not boost. But what happens is that advances your timing a little bit here and there based on intake vacuum, and it's just to optimize performance, but you don't want it switching up your ignition while you are being boosted. You don't want it to try and retard or advance timing for you while you are making boost. So we will have to block that off, probably retard it about a degree or two, maybe a little bit more, and make sure we're running full 91 all the time to keep detonation down. It is a low compression motor. I believe they're dish top pistons. I'll have to double check, but we shouldn't have much of an issue with pre-detonation. All right, guys, so we got a couple things. I just smacked that onto my paint. Awesome. That's great. We got a couple things we need for the turbo build. I got my return bung that I need for the oil pan, and then I've got a turbo blanket now as well, and this is for the hot side of your turbo. And in this relay is making noises it shouldn't be making. That's a good sign. Shit, my key should be off. I left my key on, which means the battery is probably dead. Awesome. Anywho, I'm getting the turbo blanket more so for one specific reason. The hot side of the turbo sits awfully close to that front brake line, and I would like to keep heat as far away from that as possible. So I'm going to put this between it to kind of help keep from boiling off my brake fluid, and also help keep the rest of this as cool as possible. Another thing I'm going to be doing today is putting most of it back together, at least enough to run, so I can verify oil pressure is coming out of the turbo. It'll only run for probably 5 seconds like that, just enough that I can see that the return side on the turbo is dripping oil, so I know that pressure is actually getting to the turbo itself, and so I can double check that our fitting on this side is not leaking. That little brass fitting with the stainless braided line is the one that I'm talking about. We've now got the turbo blanket on there. I'm going to go ahead and put all of this back together, and then I will take the caps off the turbo and put it on the charger, and hopefully verify that we have oil pressure going to at least the turbo and coming out of the drain tube or drain fitting, whatever you want to call it. I did just start it up and have verified we're getting oil pressure. Don't know if you can see it dripping down there. But now that I know that we are getting oil pressure, I can go ahead and put that bung on the oil pan, and we can route our return line for oil and get everything buttoned up as far as that goes. Throw that stuff back together, and then we're just waiting on parts. And that'll probably be the next video. I'm going to show you kind of what I'm going to do for the oil bung, the oil return. And this may work for you, this may not. It depends on your motor, your setup, and if you have access to this part of your oil pan. So the plan for the oil return is to put it right there on the oil pan, as high up as possible. That way I can keep the line as short as possible and it still be able to use gravity to drain into that pan. But that is the plan for the time being. Unless I get under there and it changes and I see a better option, then I will let you know. But I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil, pull that pan off, and get the bung mounted up. That way we have an oil return. And then, like I said, we're just waiting on parts to do the rest of it. So if you guys have liked this video, let me know. Comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. And I will catch you guys next time. And hopefully we will have everything we need to start the car, let it warm up, and make sure everything is good. So, if you're interested in staying tuned, like I said, subscribe, ring the bell that's down there so you know when I'm posting, and I will catch you next time.